the king of Israel. And Jesus answered him, because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, you believe? You're going to see greater stuff than this. I love that statement. It's just real conversation. Nathanael's just like, oh my goodness, you saw me under the fig tree. I know who you are now, And he's already said of him, there's no guile in this guy. There's nothing bad to be found in him. Maybe he's a little naive, or excitable. I don't know what it is. But he's, now he's just impassioned by the presence of God. And he says, oh, I know who you are. You're the Son of God. And so Jesus, kind of takes that with him. And so he's received this title, the King of Israel. Jesus answered him, because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, you believe? You'll see greater stuff than this. And he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. So there's kind of your seventh title. So in those verses 19 through 51, you've got 7 major titles that are given to him. And all these titles will get repeated throughout the gospel. And they are all important, because you don't want to just say Jesus is the Son of Man. You also want to recognize that there's a counteraction to that he is the Son of God. And that's because, he's the son of Mary and he's the Son of God. It's an amazing thing. And you know what? It's probably the hardest thing in the world to ever understand about Jesus. My 8-year-old is curious about this. And this is one of those things that he just, he can't comprehend. And I always have to say, yeah, neither can I. I don't know. But I do believe this. This is what Scripture says. I don't know that I could give any help in explaining it. I've heard lots. I've read entire books explaining it. And I don't know that I've come up with a better answer. But he is the Son of Man and he is the Son of God. And so he takes on flesh. And how that looks to us is probably very different. Okay, so the 7 miracles that Jesus performs. The first one is in chapter 2, where he turns the water to wine. Why does John give? I just have to ask it ahead of time, because I'm not going to have time to rehash the 7. So I'm going to tell you the 7 signs, because that's how John sees them. He doesn't see them as miracles. Matthew, Mark, and Luke tell dozens and dozens of miracles, and John tells 7 signs. And what are the signs for? They are specifically showing that Jesus is God. They are showing the I am nature of Jesus. You could explain away, if Jesus was, some person comes to him who's got a limp and electricity comes out of his hand as he touches the bad joint. You could, there are probably psychosomatics who come to Jesus, or to one of others who claim to be the Messiah, who receive healing, right? We see miraculous healing. There are a lot of people who receive healing of a miraculous nature, right? I know we all sort of discount that. I'm not saying it's valid. I'm saying that could happen then too. But what John does is he specializes in miracles that can't be explained away. Water being turned to wine. You can't simply say that the disciples took the big jugs of water and snuck them out with a little 2-wheeled dolly and dumped them out while nobody was looking, and then poured this delicious wine in there and brought it back in. Nobody's looking. This is ridiculous, The feeding of the thousands, that's accounted for in the other Gospels, but John only accounts for one of those times. The taking a couple of little sardines and Sister Schubert rolls and dividing them up and feeding thousands, 5,000, plus, wives and children, 15, 20,000 people at a time. And the best part about that to me is that the disciples misunderstood it. And he says to them, you think that it's about bread? He was actually kind of shocked by that. You still think this is about bread? And he has to clarify to them what the teaching is about. The teaching isn't about that. These people were hungry. We just took care of lunch for them. but you should have seen something bigger in that. How about the healing of the daughter, the guy that comes to him and says, the servant, and he says, he's sick at home, and Jesus heals from a distance. You can't explain that with the psychosomatic thing or the electric, he had some battery charger, heal him. And when he got home, he said, hey, he's healed. And then he said, well, when did that happen? They said, it was exactly 1:30 yesterday afternoon. At 1:30? Oh my goodness, that's exactly when he said he was healed. Do you understand? What John's trying to do is he's trying to use miracles that can't simply be explained away. They're showing that Jesus is God walking around in human form. Walking on water. That's a big one too. Was that a 5-minute warning or was that the bell? That was the bell, wasn't it? Walking on water. I mean, if it's shallow enough, it might look like you're walking on water if you had like clogs or something. But I mean, Jesus is walking across John was impacted by this. And he wasn't just walking on water. What was happening while he was walking on water? It was a storm big enough that everybody was like throwing up and going, oh my goodness, we're going to die, right? They're on the Sea of Galilee and Jesus is just like, hey, and they're all going, how? And in fact, Peter jumps out of the boat and comes towards him, right? And then Peter does what? He finds something else to look at, right? He's diverted. Okay, and he raises Lazarus. I mean, I didn't go through all 7, but he raises Lazarus. How do you fake that? He had been in the grave a couple days. And what did they say? You don't want to don't pull the rock back because he stinks. They buried him like the same day, but they put a bell. A lot of times they put a string and a bell, out these graves size so that in case, and there were actually historical accounts of people, they weren't dead and they lived another 11 years, after the death and burial. So they put Lazarus in there. They know the guy's dead. And they're going, dude, please don't pull the rock back because we know that's not going to smell good. And Jesus does, and they unbind him. Okay, so anyways, we're out of time. But let me tell you really quickly the 7 confessions of deity. John the Baptizer says in John 1:34, I have seen and borne witness that this is the Son of God. Nathanael, we already read his. Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. Peter in chapter 6, verse 69, we have believed and have come to know that you are the Holy One of God. They don't throw the term holy around very easily. We do. We use that term just like we use awesome. The Holy One of God. That was the term that Isaiah used, and he was using it to speak of the Messiah. Martha says in chapter 11, verse 27, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. Thomas said in chapter 20, verse 28, this is my favorite one, my Lord and my God. And that was what? After everybody said, we saw Jesus. And he said, no way. And when he finally sees him a week later, he says, come here and see. And he comes up and he touches. And then he falls down and says, my Lord, my God. John says in chapter 20, verse 31, these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. And in chapter 8 and verse 58, he says, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Do you know what that means? They did, because what did they do? They picked up rocks. And every time that Jesus would say something like that, they knew exactly that. What did they accuse him of? Blasphemy. Because I call myself the Son of God, you accuse me of blasphemy? I am the Son of God. It's an awesome testament. I hope that if you haven't read through the Gospel of John and you are interested in finding deeper things about Christ, I hope that maybe I've piqued your interest and that you'll find some things in the Gospel of John that you're not going to find in the other Gospels. Thank you.